Hi, I'm Larry Trocha. Today I want to talk about starting horses on cattle. There are different ways to do it, and I'd like to explain some of the differences and what my personal experience has been. So you might want to click the closed captions button on the video player so you can read along while I'm talking. Now on your screen is a video of a really green 2-year-old filly owned by one of my clients. She's bred to be a good one, but she got started late. She's rideable, but she just doesn't know much right now. And this is probably only the third time she's seen a cow. But pay attention. I'm careful to put the filly in a position where the cow is going away from her and not at her. And I do this specifically to build her desire and confidence to work a cow. Now, notice she will occasionally shake her head at the cow. What she's trying to do is dominate the cow. Horses that have a lot of cow and they might show expression on a cow, that's usually a horse that has a lot of cow. And if you know horses real well and they can read their body language, you can tell she's actually really enjoying this. I mean, she's having a good time, tracking these cows around. During my horse training career, I've started horses on cattle at just about every age and every level of training. Some of them I worked on a cow the very first time they were ever ridden. I know that sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? But it's true. And some of those horses had a really good handle on them when I first showed them a cow. Let me tell you a quick story about the first cutting horse trainer I worked for. This man was famous and really successful. I mean, he'd won just about everything there was to win in the cutting arena. And he didn't believe in putting any kind of handle on a horse at all. Matter of fact, you couldn't turn his horses around in a 40-acre field. That's how unbroke they were. But he didn't care about that. He didn't care about having a good handle. He didn't care about him having a hard stop or anything like that. He just wanted them, supple. He didn't care if they would take the correct lead, nothing like that. All he really cared about is how well the horse learned to stay hooked to the cow, no matter what. And he hired me as a colt starter after, seeing several colts that I had started that were for sale. And he actually bought those colts and then hired me to be his colt starter. And when I got to his place, he was in Arizona. I was in California at the time, but his training stable was in Arizona. So when I got to his place in Arizona a week later, I arrived sick. I mean, bad sick with the flu. God, it was bad. Anyway, I was sick for about 10 days, and when I was finally felt good enough to work, I pulled into his ranch, and here he was getting ready to leave with a trailer full of horses. And before he left, he said he was going to be gone for a solid month on the show circuit, and all these colts were in my hands. And he handed me a yellow sheet of paper with the names of about 20 colts written on it. And he says to me, the top half of these colts are green broke to ride, and you need to work them on a cow every day. And the bottom half haven't been started yet, and you need to work them on a cow every day also. And I'm kind of looking at him like, what? Like I say, he didn't believe in putting much of a handle on them. He wanted to get them on a cow as soon as possible. So he really expected me to work a cow on them the very first time I got on their back. And I asked him, how do you want me to do this? I've never done this before. And he says, well, here's what you do. You lead the colt into the arena, saddle him up, and turn them loose and let them buck. And when they're done bucking, you let a cow into the arena, get it in the corner of the arena, lead the colt as close to the cow as you can, and get on the colt and pull its head toward the cow so it gets his attention on the cow. And then try to get the horse to go toward the cow. When the cow leaves, you get the colt to go with it, and you just track that cow around. You just track that cow around. And all we have on these colts, he wanted me to do it in this soft rope hackamore. I mean, you had no control at all. I mean, nothing. And so anyway, that's what I did. And to tell you the truth, it worked so well that I continued to start colts that way for like the next 10 years or so. And believe it or not, out of the jillion colts in that period of time, only one of them ever bucked with me in the saddle. And that colt, it was a filly. You know, she wasn't bucking to get me off. She was just bucking because she had so much cow, and it was just, she was so enthusiastic about it. She just bucked out of enthusiasm, you know. And you know, when I hit the ground, she saw me hit the ground. She actually stopped, came back to me, and you know, sniffed me on the ground like, "What are you doing down there?" You know. So anyway, I jumped up, got back on her, and pulled her head toward the cow, and we tracked the cow some more. What was interesting about this way of starting a horse is that you're going from nothing. I mean, they don't know anything, to getting them broke while they're also learning about a cow. And that worked really, really good. Now, I don't do that anymore. I get them a little bit broke, you know, before I ever put them on a cow. But that method did work good. The horses, as they would get farther and farther along, they would look better and better. I mean, at the start, they would look really bad because it'd be rounding the turns and not stopping well and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, by futurity time, they would be looking like the real deal. And what was interesting is that almost all those colts that went to the futurities, almost all of them made it to the finals. A couple of them won the futurities. It worked good. But I wanted to see more, a totally different way of doing it. So I would go watch some trainers that would put a lot of handle on their horse before they put them on a cow. And for some of those trainers, that worked really good for them. It was a totally different way of doing it, but it still worked well. But there was one trainer in particular that would put too much handle on his horse, and they would listen to the rider more than they would listen to the cow, stay hooked to the cow. And come futurity time, most of those colts would either be quitting the cow or running off. And this guy in particular, he actually had to buy a horse from somebody else to show in the futurities, because all his were running off. It's kind of a bad deal. But you know, I've tried both ways, and you know, in between, and you know, after a few years, you learn what works best for you. And the moral of this is, whatever's working for you, whatever training technique is getting you good results, then stick with it. You know, don't let anybody tell you you're doing it wrong if the results you are getting are good. You know, there's a bunch of different ways to train a horse. There's no one right way and no one wrong way. You do what works for you, and you do what gets you the best results. If this is the type of training that you're interested in, you know, go to my website and check out the training videos and online training courses that I have there. Yeah, I think you might find something you like. All righty, take care.